I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to our Insider Insights series here on Operation Freedom and DaveJanda.com. I am honored to have back with me someone who is a very dear friend and someone who, and her company, the Camino Company, CaminoCompany.com, has helped tens of thousands of people over the years in protecting their financial and economic freedom and freaking vitality, really. That's what it comes down to. You know, we are constantly told that, the economy, the United States economy, the world economy is fine. Everything's well. It's all rainbows and lollipops. Well, that's what we hear on Fox Business News and CNBS, as I call it, and Reuters and Bloomberg. But it's all propaganda. Because over the decades, we have seen a continued devaluation of whatever you want to call it, our fiat currency, the dollar, whatever. And this is not just with the US dollar, it's about every currency worldwide. And that's not by mistake. It's not by happenstance. It's a controlled implosion of the public's buying power. And in the process, it enhances the power and the control of the controlling elite, many of whom are in the criminal international banking syndicate. You can call it the New World Order, the thugocracy, you can call it the deep state, you can call it the criminal international banking syndicate, but it's all in the same. It's individuals that are the elites who see all of us as useless eaters and utilizing the resources that were only meant for them. And their goal and objective is to gain more power, more control, more of their ever-precious currency, whatever it might be in. And for us, all of us, to be frankly destitute. And this is why the elite are not fans, let's say, of Adriana Reed, of the Camino Company. Because what they do is they help you achieve an insurance for your financial freedom and liberty. As I mentioned, Adriana is with the Camino Company, CaminoCompany.com. She is one of the most honest and knowledgeable people in a particular aspect of the financial lifeboat, if you will, that being precious metals. We've been talking about this for years. And it's interesting because one of the most frequent emails, texts, or phone calls I get are from people that I've known for years who said, and this just happened actually this morning, I've been listening to you and Adriana Reed and about how things are not as they appear through watching Fox Business News or CNBS or reading the New York Times or whatever. And I don't know, I believed it, but I didn't think that I needed to take any action. And now I see what's happening around the country and around the world. And you know what? I have to do something to ensure my financial and economic freedom and liberty. And I need to look on the hard asset side of this because my broker keeps wanting to put me into paper assets. And this is the lesson that Adriana Reed has drilled into us. And many people were skeptical, as this individual was who called me this morning, who I've known for years, who now all of a sudden is a mad rush. I got to do something. So it's my honor to welcome back my friend and someone who is your friend and someone who gets a lot of grief from a lot of heavy hitters for focusing on your financial freedom and economic freedom and liberty. It's my honor to welcome back to our platform, Adriana Reed. Adriana, welcome back to the Operation Freedom platform.
Always a pleasure, Dave.
Okay, so we're constantly told by this guy that kind of hangs out in, a set that looks like the Oval Office, and then occasionally, I guess, in the Oval Office, that all is fine economically. It's never, according to never been better, the economy. But then we have this. Even the elite scum are having a hard time disguising the data of which they've been manipulating for years, as you have pointed out before. But please address some of these things, Adriana. For a couple headlines. Empire Fed Manufacturing Survey collapses into contraction in January's terms. They were expecting a plus 25 print, and it came in at minus 0.7, the third biggest month-over-month drop in history. Okay, U.S. consumer prices soar at fastest in 39 years. Real wages tumble for ninth straight month. Initial jobless claims unexpectedly spike. Producer prices, not consumer, producer prices surge to record high as services sectors soar. University of Michigan, right down the trail here. University of Michigan, sentiment slides in January as inflation expectations hit 10-year high. Adriana, these are not headlines that we will see in CNBS or Fox Business News or in Reuters or Bloomberg or in the New York Times. But Adriana, these headlines are consistent with something called stagflation that we had in the 70s and 80s that we're having now, that you predicted many, many months ago and were denigrated for doing so.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. So all of those headlines are very transparent to what we're experiencing right now. So stagflation, for people who are maybe more new to the term itself, it's when the economy is not increasing in its capacity, all while inflation is going basically out the roof. And that's really what we're experiencing right now. So as you know, I'm a huge advocate for the middle class and just the people that are on the ground here in the United States. And my main thing is they're the ones who are experiencing this the most, if anything. Obviously, the elites have enough to keep away and, hide out in their bunkers and do whatever they need to do. But the fact of the matter is things are becoming much more expensive than what is affordable for the average American family. Jobs are not coming back as quickly as we need them to get people out into the job force. And so when you have these two things collide, it's not good for an economy. It's not good for the country. A lot of this is frankly due to the overprinting of money during 2020, 2021. As I've always said, and we've said in past videos and interviews, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Somebody's going to pay for it, always. And if you look at our national debt, it's climbed significantly over the past 2 years. The reason being is that trillions of dollars have been flooded into the market. And in my personal opinion, if we don't start getting a grasp on things and getting things under control, it's kind of, it's going to be a Titanic scenario where the ship's just going to sink. And it's not looking good at this point, in my personal opinion.
So, Adriana, many people have said to me, Adriana Reed, she's very nice, and she gives good information, but she seems awfully hard on an entity that, well, when I listen to the media, tells me that they have my back. And that entity is the Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve Board. People say, I continually am told the Federal Reserve, they have my back, that they're going to protect me, that they're going to protect our country. But when I listen to Adriana, she is really hard on the Fed and says something very different. So educate our listeners, Adriana. You're a very nice person. Why are you so hard on the Federal Reserve?
Yeah, the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. It's a private banking system that actually has nothing to do with the U.S. government. It actually works with the US government. The problem you have is they don't answer to anybody. And as we know, if you don't answer to anybody, you get 100% out of control. And no matter if what you're doing is illegal or if what you're doing for the interest of anybody. I've always been a huge believer in what Ron Paul said about auditing the Fed. I always want to know where our monetary supply is going. I always do think that we should put Americans first, considering it's our money that is being taxed, or the money that's going to have to go back to pay what the Federal Reserve is flooding the markets with. And frankly, the Federal Reserve, if you really look at history, our greatest crashes have happened after the Federal Reserve was created. Mm-hmm. And you look at the Depression, you look at the crash in '87, all of which are both scenarios where we also, after the Federal Reserve, we were taken off the gold standard and we were taken off the silver standard. Now that working with the government, I think they all are in cahoots personally. I'm very critical of our government, no matter who our leaders are. I think that we should always, look through that lens of critique, mm-hmm. because the government has gotten bigger and bigger. They have more opportunities to launder money, and it's our money that doesn't come back to the American people. And I believe the Federal Reserve is behind a lot of this. They're no worse than a mafia to me.
Well, in fact, the mafia actually might be a more ethical organization than the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve is really looking out for the interests of one entity, and that's the banksters. Yeah. They are a group of independent banksters that are looking out for all other independent banksters and not the public. That's for sure. And if you look at their policies, as you've pointed out over the years, right now, they've created a situation, and they're going to try to pin it on, I don't know, you name it, some event or something. But financial systems around the world mm-hmm. are in the process of imploding, including here in the United States, because of what these bankers have done to set the system to fail.
Absolutely.
And in the process, they position themselves so that when the system fails, they'll be just fine.
Absolutely.
But all of us won't.
And that's the conversation I have with a lot of my customers, is understanding the way that things work and how many steps you need to be ahead when these things happen, and how that's why we talk about protecting yourself. I'm not out to particularly help people invest their money. I'm out to protect people from the Federal Reserve itself. I always say it's not a matter if crashes are going to happen, it's when crashes are going to happen. And the Federal Reserve will always guarantee that there will be some sort of crash due to their own monetary policy that they're telling you is opposite of what is actually going on.
So many people that I know that went to their brokers many months ago after hearing some of our previous interviews said, I heard some very compelling information that we're heading into a stagflationary environment similar to what we had in the 70s and 80s. And all these people were told by their brokers, no, that's not going to happen. Right? Well, it has happened.
Yeah.
So now they've gone back to their broker and say, well, I told you about that and you said it wasn't going to happen. Well, it's only used Fed speak there for a while. It's only going to be for a transitory period of time, a short period of time. And these brokers then say it's going to be for this short period of time, but I guess if you want to protect yourself and from inflation, probably the best way to do it is to buy more stock, to buy more paper assets, to invest in the companies that are going to grow faster than the inflation, and that's the way to do it. Now, Adriana, what's the problem with that approach?
Yeah, so my personal paper contracts are, they have no substance to them. They're kind of like fiat currency. There's no substance to it itself. So for me personally, working in physical assets myself, I'm just of the belief that if you hold it, step on it, you own it. And when they sell paper contracts, especially during these times where we're experiencing extreme volatility in markets, if you look, the stock market could be doing great one day, and then the next day has some major issues. Stocks that you were told were going to be great are not so great. and vice versa. It's it really is a hit or miss game with numbers. And I don't believe that that's protecting yourself. I believe that that's playing a numbers game. And so I'm just of the belief that, I'm all well and fine if somebody wants to dabble in that themselves. But I also believe in protecting your assets. And I've always believed in that. So that's why, of my belief, there's always a percentage that should be set of your financial status in precious metals.
So, Adriana, then the conversation happens with the brokers. Well, I'd really like to own some gold and silver, and some physical gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
And the brokers then say, well, okay, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should own more Netflix stock or whatever.
Yeah.
As an example.
Yeah.
But if you are going to own gold and silver, if this is something you really want to do, well, you can own gold and silver by buying something called a stock categorized as an ETF, an exchange traded fund, where it's holding gold and holding silver, only you don't have to hold it. You own the paper by. So is there a problem with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main concern with ETFs is if they come to call and it's time to deliver physicals, are the physicals actually there?
Mm-hmm.
In multiple times where there has been a manipulation of markets, especially precious metals markets, there's people who have actually been indicted on charges. So, this is all true. I believe it was 8 members of the Deutsche Bank who were playing the numbers game. They were using ETFs also to work those numbers and make it look good. So ETFs are very easily manipulated, in my personal opinion, and they don't come with the same guarantee as the delivery of physicals.
Which goes back to your previous statement. If you can't hold it, or if you can't stand on it, you probably don't own it, because there are always counterparty risks to these other investments.
Exactly.
Okay. So then what happens is the broker and the individual says, well, I don't want to do that because I've heard some things about that. I just want you to have the money in my account, in the money market account, and I'm going to write some checks against it, and I'm going to buy some physical precious metals. And the broker says, well, it's very hard to do. It's not a transparent process. Mm-hmm. And then once you get through the process and you have this, well, it's cumbersome, it's bulky, there's no way to protect it. And when it comes time to sell it, if you want to sell it, there's no way you'll be able to sell it. Okay, so let's just go through this thing, because this is a huge problem. Many people decide, okay, I'm going to do this and have an insurance policy and protect myself. And then what happens is they hear all the negative blather, and it's truly blather and misrepresentative, and they end up not doing the right thing to protect themselves. So let's take it step by step. So it's not a transparent process. Okay, now, the reason why I have dealt with the Camino Company for many years is because there are some companies that are not transparent. Camino is. It has never changed. You guys started with Bert, your founder. The way Bert ran it is no different the way all of the votes then Reeds and everybody else at Camino's run it. Very transparent, very upfront. And some people say, well, I have a relative that's in this business, so I'm going to purchase from them. Okay, well, that's fine. But let's make sure your relative is being transparent. So take us through the process that you use that I believe is the most transparent, so people know if they're involved in another transaction somewhere else, they see the red flags because they know what a transparent process is. Educate our listeners. So someone decides they're going to purchase precious metals, and they call you. Ms. Reed, I have some money. I don't have a lot of it. I have some money, and I want to purchase some physical gold and physical silver. Okay, take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you would give us a call, speak to one of the traders. Now, I also want to clarify, we deal with everybody from every range of budget. Some people, one of the things that we hear a lot is I didn't buy because I didn't have that much money. That's irrelevant to us. Everybody should have their chance to protect themselves. We'll go over whatever you're capable of your budget for all of the pricing at that time. All of the prices, once they're agreed upon, we lock it in at that time. Now, our markets, too, are experiencing some extreme volatilities. Now, with the ever-changing pricing, it would not change. So the price that we lock it in, we agree to, that's the price that it will stay. The next thing is we just need payment. We receive checks. We can also do a wire, and you can spend up to $1,500 via credit card on our website. Wires, we just ask that they're sent within 48 hours, and also checks are postmarked within 48 hours. We don't require to have the check in hand next day. Once it's postmarked, we're good with that. Once we receive the check, we hold it for 5 business days. Wires, we have a 48-hour hold before you get in line to ship. Then we put you in line to ship. Physical precious metals then are sent to you of the address of your choice, and then you can take it on for storage.
Now, I've heard from some people who purchase precious metals at other sites, and they said, and I'll just make up the numbers. I bought 1 ounce of gold at this other facility for $2,000 an ounce, and I bought some silver at $30 an ounce when I placed my order. And I got a call back a week later, and they said, I sent them my payment, and I got a call back a week later say, we're going to ship you your product now. However, the price of gold is not $2,000 an ounce now that we're going to ship it. It's $2,100 an ounce. And the price of silver is $35 an ounce. So you have to send the differential before we'll send it. Now, address that.
Yeah, so that's a red flag in my opinion. For us, it's just not the way we conduct our business. Once we agree upon a price, that's what we agree upon, no matter the changes of the market. I definitely do think that is a red flag, though, if you are purchasing from anybody, in my personal opinion.
Okay, so educate our listeners on gold and silver, and so people go, well, what do I buy? Do I buy a little bar of it? Do I buy a coin of it? What do I buy? Both of gold and silver. So educate our listeners on the products and what you think is found over the years to be probably the best for the majority of the public.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the gold side, we always recommend gold eagles, gold buffaloes, maple leafs, kangaroos. Right now, we are experiencing higher premiums on American-made materials. So those are going to be your eagles and your buffaloes. At this point in time, I actually would recommend another item if you are comfortable with foreign gold. Maple leafs are one of the most traded coins in the entire world, as well as kangaroos. I do offer bars as well, which is always an option. The one thing I do let people know, though, is all of the items that I sell, I want to make sure work for you where you are. Now, that being said, I am willing to buy back anything that I sell. So you can always ship material back to me and I'll buy it back from you. But if you needed to run to your local coin dealer or a local dealer, bullion dealer, some don't take back bars. So that's always something to take into consideration.
Okay.
It's something that we do talk about. Just because some smaller coin shops or businesses don't have the ability to test the bars, and it becomes a concern for their purchase power.
Now, do you folks test at Camino? Do you test your items?
Anything that comes in over the counter is always tested. We have 2 different forms, but our main one is we actually X-ray our material.
Okay, so then what about silver?
Yeah, so on the silver side of things, there's the 1 ounce rounds, 10 ounce bars, 100 ounce bars are the main items I'm recommending right now. We also sell silver eagles. You can pre-order 2022 Silver Eagles if you'd like. We also have what we call now backdate Silver Eagles because the new years are out. And then the last thing I also recommend is the 90% silver. Now, 90% silver is pre-1965, so 64 and before, halves, quarters, and dimes. When we used to make our currency with silver until we were taken off the silver standard in 1971, actually, officially. And this is also another really great way to purchase. I'm of the belief at this point in time, I think that we're kind of finding that America is capable of anything. Our government, unfortunately, is capable of anything. And my job is to make sure that you're prepared if things did go truly that south. It would be ignorant for us to say that it's not a possibility. So the 90% silver acts as a really great way to preserve your wealth, also while having, in some ways, fractional pieces if it ever went to that point in time.
Now, the 90% silver has another name that's a significant misnomer. So what's the name that's given to it, and why is it given that name, and why is it not what the name appears?
Yeah, so we also call it junk silver. The reason is because it was circulated, it's very dirty. So after you touch it all the time, usually when I'm done dealing with junk silver, my hands are black on the inside of my palms and my fingers, and therefore I got the name junk silver. If that's the definition of junk, I'll take all the junk I can get.
Right. And so when people hear junk silver, they go, I don't want to buy junk. Why would I buy? But the answer is it's not junk.
Exactly.
Okay. So now then the question comes up, well, wait, now I got a finite amount of money, right? How do I split that between gold and silver, or do I just do one or just do the other? What do I do?
Exactly. So I always recommend somewhere around a 50-50 split. That's our starting point, where we kind of just put the needle right in the middle. And then what I recommend, and being a libertarian, I always believe that your purchase is on you. I have some people who feel the need to go gold heavy because there's a little bit difference in storage capacity for some people. Gold, I can walk out the door with $150,000 of gold in my pocket versus $150,000 of silver. I'm going to have to get some help carrying it out. Versus some people at this point in time feel that silver is incredibly undervalued and is also a metal that has potential to take off, double, triple. And so they choose to go silver heavy. So they lean more towards maybe an 80-20 split, 20% gold, 80% silver. So the main thing also, when you speak to the traders about what percentage it is that you choose to do, they'll speak to you. But the other thing we also want is we want people to have the knowledge before they make this purchase. So choosing to do your own research on which metal is convenient for you, storage-wise. Also, what your opinion is. Gold is a tendency to be more what we consider a long-term investment because of its volatility is more solid, I would say. If it takes a 1% drop, it's only going down $18 versus silver. If it goes down 1%, it's gone down 22 cents. But if it goes down $1.50, you're looking at, significant drops in percentage wise. So it has to be upon you as well as our consumer, I would say, to do your research also about what you feel more comfortable with too.
Now, the word numismatic comes up. Okay,
yes.
So here's an example. My brother-in-law Vinny knows this guy who has this shop, right? And Vinny tells me that this guy has this really rare coin that he wants to sell. Yeah. But rather than it's silver. And silver, let's say, is at $30 an ounce. Well, because it's a rare, what he calls numismatic coin, that there are not many of them out there, the price appreciation will be far greater. So he says that 1 ounce $30, what's normally a $30 coin for 1 ounce of silver, well, because it's a rare one, this goes for $140 a coin, but it's going to appreciate more. Okay, so educate our listeners on this numismatic issue.
Yeah, so especially in modern material, more so. So numismatics was going to fall in its own category. Now there are individuals who collect coins and graded coins, not graded coins. They have a collection, I would say, fall into their own category. What I'm trying to do in this purchase that you're going to make is to make sure that we're investing our money wisely. Those purchases have a tendency to cost a lot at the beginning, and then they drop right back down to more of a silver value on its buyback. So the main thing is if you look at our website, we don't have a ton of items listed. The most modern thing that came out yesterday, and then this other item that came out the week after. The reason we have the items that we have is my concern is I know that these items, since the beginning of our business 55 years ago, still have great buybacks. They have great sale prices. They're going to hold their value, and they're sustainable through the times that we need them to be. So I always say shy away from those types of purchases, in my personal opinion, just because there's no guarantee behind those.
So I've also heard for some folks say, I'm not buying numismatics. I'm buying. I'm just buying because I've heard Adriana Reed say, the more ounces you own, the better, and that means not in many cases buying numismatics. You can get more ounces by getting the more recent stuff. Okay, so they say, well, I call Camino. And, there's a premium, which everybody has a premium because that's the cost of doing business and what they have to pay their suppliers to get this, right? Depending on how available it is. Okay. Well, they say, Camino's premium is, let's say, I'm making this up, as far as the numbers, but these conversations happen all the time. Camino's premium is like 5%. And I called another company just for comparison, and their premium was 12%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But why is it, and it's for the same thing. I mean, it's not like comparing a premium on junk silver versus a silver eagle. It's the same item. Why? So why is one 12 and one 5?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, there also is a lot of price gouging in our business. Especially during times where there's a major increase in demand. And one of the things that we're adamant about here at Camino is to keep the prices as low as possible. And unfortunately, some people don't fall in the same category of honesty or
as a means
knowledge.
Of doing business. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I do have times where I even have gotten to the point where customers have said, I have a local dealer here and I want to go to them, and I just ask that you call for pricing, even if you're going to go somewhere else, just so you can see the difference, because that 7%, in my opinion, is huge.
It's enormous. Yeah.
Especially a business that works on a 1% margin. It's ginormous to me. 7% is Christmas. So, I always want to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. Like I said, I'm an advocate for the most ounces for the dollar spent. I'm also an advocate for making sure that, honesty, and I tell people this a lot. I'm a capitalist, but I'm a moral capitalist.
Right.
Even in keeping morals throughout, because it's the building block of capitalism's ability to prosper is morality.
So when somebody purchases it and they send you their either wire transfer or their check, and then it clears and they're in line and you wait for the check to clear, let's say 5 days, couple days for a wire transfer, and you put them in line and then you ship. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, what are the delays right now as it comes to, it obviously varies from day to day, but what are we looking about the supply of gold and silver?
Yeah, so the supply has actually been pretty good at the beginning of the year. especially mints. They switch over and they have a pretty good supply. They build it up for a couple of weeks and then they get it out to us. So supply on gold is actually looking pretty steady. Some silver items are a little bit of a delay, but actually we've been doing pretty good on getting. Probably the longest would be the 1 ounce rounds, can show a little bit of a delay, but for the most part, Dave, you're looking at anywhere between about a week to 2 weeks between the time that we receive your payment. You know, we have that 5 business day hold. We are getting stuff out after 5 business days, so we're working on overdrive, actually, to be frank.
Okay, so when you send it out,
Yeah.
going back to the stockbroker says, well, they just sent it to you in a box that says, here's your coins, and everybody knows this is what you're buying. Now, educate our listeners. How do you guys avoid that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things. Number one, my husband, Kyle, actually, we are a family business. So my husband, Kyle, does all the packing. All of the material on the inside, he seals it. He keeps it tight. It's taped. Bubble wrap is put into tubes so that tubes don't make any noises on the inside with the coins hitting. We make sure that also all boxes are double boxed to make sure, when the UPS guy or USPS guy is throwing the box around, that there's, no chance a box is going to break open. Then on the outside of the box, we put Camino Company. The reason being is I don't want to indicate to anybody, what's inside the box, especially being here in California. We know about boxes getting stolen, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, right.
Saw recently. So, keeping that box really preserved for privacy.
And when folks get it,
Mm-hmm.
what do they do with it? Because the broker says, well, it's bulky and you gotta, forget it, Well, no, what do folks do?
Yeah, so, I have this conversation a lot. My first inclination of where you should put it would be at your home. I know it's a weird thing to think to put. Some people have $25,000, $100,000 worth of material in their home, but getting a good safe, that you feel comfortable with, is my number one option, especially after COVID. Look what happened in 2020. March of 2020, everybody was told to go inside their homes, and accessibility to anything, banks, your safety deposit box, even if you had it at a storage facility, even the storage facilities became incapable.
Which is what I experienced, because ours is at a storage facility, and I thought, okay, it's out of the banking system, I'm okay. But you're right. Now, granted, we had a relationship with the storage company, so, our downtime was less than a week, but still,
Some people, they need it within 24 hours. It's not everybody has the same time frame to, make that appointment and then get to it and figure out what to do with it. So I always say start with your house. Second, I go with private depositories.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your local area, do your research, make sure it's that they're authentic, make sure that they've have some experience. Go check out the facility, check the security of the facility, all the things that are going to matter to your metals being there and also help you sleep at night too. Then I don't really say ever to put anything back into the banking system, especially with safety deposit boxes. I always tell people, and I said this on Sunday on air with you, is always a reminder that safety deposit boxes is you have a key and they have a key.
Yeah.
If that doesn't tell you enough, when you bought your house, you got the keys to your house, and the bank doesn't have the keys to your house. You have the keys to your house. So we always have to remember who's on our team and who's not. So
people get it. They say, well, I got this private depository near the area. I'm going to get it to them. They get it to them. Now, something comes up in the family.
Yeah.
They say, hey, I don't really want to sell this, but I need to sell a little bit of it because I need some cash flow here. Yeah. So the stockbroker says, once you own it, you can't sell it. Okay. No, right. It is not true. So educate our listeners. What's the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So If that situation comes up where you need to go back into fiat currency, call us up. It's the same process, just in reverse. You call, say, hey, I have 2 gold eagles that I need to sell. I'm going to price out your gold eagles. We're going to lock the pricing in. The only difference is you have to ship the material to me so I can check it to make sure it is what it is. And then I'm going to send you payment. Usually it's anywhere between, it can be a very quick process, depending on how you ship the material, or it can also take take a couple weeks to get the turnaround time. So we also will let you know the process in which you need to go based off of how quickly you also need the funds.
And the biggest mistake people make, Adriana, over your experience, which is considerable with this, the biggest mistake people make when it comes to precious metals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we did our first video, was it 2017?
I think it was. The video, yeah.
Time back then.
Radio interviews much longer before that, but yeah.
Our first video. I've been preaching this for a long time, and I preached it especially in what I would call probably economic downtime, when we're smooth sailing. And I'm of the belief that this is not over, especially with our economy. There's more to come. In 2008, if you look, the crash happened in 2008, and most people didn't experience the ripple effect until 2010, 2011, when things got more difficult. So this is not over. And the biggest mistake that we make is we wait too long to make that choice to protect ourselves. You have car insurance because you drive your car. You have insurance on your home because you own your home. Your money is not safe right now, my personal opinion. And having a percentage of your financial wealth in precious metals, it can make or break some family, and it can make a huge difference to people. And so I just say, don't wait. Even if you just get your feet wet, it's okay. Let's just start small and start somewhere.
It's interesting you say that, because the first thing the elites do before they pull something off, and all we have to do is look what's been pulled off over the past 2 years, not in the financial world, but in the medical world, if you will. They first have one of their little puppets come out and say something about, oh, better watch out. There's some stuff coming. And then they decide to hold a symposium on the issue. And then it hits. Okay. So about 6 months ago, and I played this clip on the radio when you've been on, Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum, a globalist organization, if there ever was one, came out and said, we're going to be pushing for a great reset. Oh, yeah. A reset of the financial system. And, this is going to be, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the first shoe that dropped. And then we had this the past couple weeks. The International Monetary Fund, globalist organization. The World Bank, globalist organization. And 10 countries held an alarming simulation of global financial system collapse conference. The report described that Israel led a 10-country simulation of a major cyber attack on the global financial system in an attempt to increase cooperation that could help to minimize any potential damage to the financial markets and banks. It was centered on a catastrophic scenario in which hackers were 10 steps ahead of the system. Dubbed collective strength, how about collective ripoff? Collective strength, the exercise was held in Jerusalem and included the participation also of the United States, the United Kingdom, United Arab Emirates, Austria, Switzerland, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Thailand. Officials from the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank and the Bank of International Settlements were also very involved. The financial geopolitical gaming simulation was set amid a scenario where sensitive data was leaked on the dark web, which combined with the fake news reports going viral across societies, resulting in the collapse of global markets and ensuing run on banks. Further, the simulation envisioned a series of devastating hacks targeting global foreign exchange systems, which also disrupted transactions between importers and exporters. Okay, Adriana. They had their little puppet come out, Klaus Schwab, and say, ho, ho, great reset. Now, at the end of December, we just had this powwow of totalitarian thug bankers. Well, if history is any guide, the next shoe is the actual event. Yeah. And Adriana, this is why I believe the information you have presented over the years and today is so important. Because what has stood the test of times in these times of economic upheaval have been hard assets, and in particular gold and silver. Am I off?
Yeah. No, not at all. When we go to history, which is, I think, we can always learn from history. Gold and silver have been around for more than 2,000 years. 2,000 years. The rise and fall of empires, gold and silver has been there. And it's still here today. My business is absolutely critical in balance as far as I'm concerned. When the elites start moving, start protecting yourself.
And they're moving. Okay, Adriana, educate our listeners in how they can get in touch with you, how they can get in touch with Camino and the website.
Yeah, absolutely. So reach us at 800-348-8001. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 Pacific Standard Time. We're Californians. You can also 24/7 access our website at CaminoCompany.com. I'm also happy to talk to people personally. You can email me at adriana@CaminoCompany.com. There's also a contact down below on our website where you can reach us through our website. And once again, the number is 800-348-8001.
800-348-8001. Camino, C-A-M-I-N-O, CaminoCompany.com.
Yes.
Or they can email you at Adriana, A-D-R-I-A-N-A, at CaminoCompany.com.
Yes.
Adriana, I'd like to thank you and everyone at Camino for everything you have done, are doing, and will do. You do get a lot of grief for doing what you do because the elites do not want people to protect themselves or insure themselves against financial instability. Because if they are not insured for financial instability, they become easier targets to be controlled and to have their remaining freedoms and liberties removed from them. Mm-hmm. And I thank you for your efforts and everyone's efforts at Caminos in putting people ahead of the elites and protecting them in the process. I thank you for your perseverance, dedication, and sacrifice in that regard. And I'd like to thank you folks today for joining us. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.